Greetings, R. Frederick Little here with another episode of Christian News and Views. And today we're doing Friday recap. So let's get down with it. On Monday, this is the topic we were talking about there, the Harvard University actually. Despite receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding each year, Harvard University faces intense scrutiny from the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform because of alleged civil rights law violations. By the way, these alleged civil rights law go back a ways. And the decision, it refers to a Supreme Court decision as well. Harvard's decision to decline a settlement proposal from the General Services Administration, along with the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services and Education, sent on April 11th, 2025, triggered the investigation. The proposed settlement is intended to ensure Harvard University's compliance with civil rights legislation. It was rejected by Harvard. And I went into further detail on that on Monday. The Joint Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism responded to Harvard's settlement rejection by freezing $2.2 billion in grants and $60 million in contract values allocated to the university. And so I gave my opinion, and basically what I said was that the article I just read barely referred to a Supreme Court decision that should have been mentioned. It wasn't, so I did. And here it is. On June 29, 2023, the Supreme Court issued a decision in Harvard that, by a vote of 6-2, reversed the lower court ruling. In the majority opinion, Chief Justice John Roberts held that affirmative action in college admissions is unconstitutional. Because of the absence of U.S. military academics in the cases, the lack of relevant lower court rulings, and the potentially distinct interests that the military academies may present, the court, limited by Article 3, did not decide the fate of race-based affirmative action in military academies. So what is my opinion? Well, for starters, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. So when it overturns a lower court's rulings, it means the Supreme Court's decision is law, not the lower court. And some judges just don't ever get that, I guess. Based on this decision, it is my opinion that the Trump administration is spot on. Harvard is in violation of civil rights law unless they have fixed the problem the Supreme Court noted. I have seen nothing that would suggest they have done anything. Harvard has a rich history, but its former status as one of the better schools in the land does not justify thumbing its nose at the court. And I went into some length, I think, if I remember correctly, about why I said its former status. It's still considered a great school, but it's not, in my opinion, not as great of status as it once had, because once it was a Christian. It was actually, I believe it was founded by perhaps a church, but they were Christians. And there was a time when I believe it also may have been involved in the teaching of those who go into the becoming pastors and stuff of this nature. As they got bigger, they started to drift away, forgetting that the foundation of their getting bigger was because of their Christian foundation. They didn't see that, and they turned away from it. And now they're doing things that are completely contrary not only to the Bible, but to the Constitution itself, to the rule of law. And they should be held accountable for that. On Tuesday, Donald Trump is getting frustrated. Well, here's the article. With talks stalling, this is about the Russia-Ukraine war. With talks stalling, President Donald Trump is weighing whether to abandon his efforts to achieve a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. The president has grown increasingly frustrated as negotiations have dragged out and is nearing his limit, three sources familiar with the situation said. So here was my opinion. Trump is still following his plan. The question is, will it work? And that you have to play the whole thing out to see that. I am predicting that Trump may actually walk away as a way of putting pressure upon Putin. Putin can be very stubborn. And I didn't mean to say Putin, I mean Putin. He can be very stubborn, very, in some ways, he's predictably unpredictable. Trump is unpredictable, but there is always a plan behind his unpredictability. I don't know that that's true with Putin. There's a screw, in my opinion, there's a screw loose up there. And so it's kind of hard to see how that goes. But in the meantime, President Zelensky of Ukraine is biding his time. Trump has come up against the Putin that Zelensky knows. But instead of resisting and adding wood to the fire, which would have been a mistake, the Ukrainian president has been approving the United States plans, and basically he's backed off, and it's just sitting like the rest of us in the galleries watching. If it doesn't go the way he wants it to go, he'll make his point known. But right now he's watching. It's sort of like the student watching the teacher being President Trump. I believe that I've said this before, that some people, I didn't get this idea on my own. Other people have called him the Trump of Europe. In the end, it may take putting financial sanctions on the Russian economy. And it's already reeling with the sanctions already there. That could prove to be the tipping point. I wouldn't be surprised if President Trump turned back to Ukraine, walked away from Russia, and said, you're not going to play ball. You're not going to sit down at the table and negotiate man to man. Then I'm going to go do my best to help Ukraine. I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people think that Trump is anti-Ukraine and anti-Zelensky. A lot of things he says and does, I believe, are for effect. He's trying to put pressure on Putin. And Putin needs to know sorry about that. Putin needs to know that the United States means business. And he should be considering some questions here. If he doesn't come around and start talking seriously, will the United States provide additional support to Ukraine? Will the United States send American troops? And I can answer that last one. No, Trump will not be sending troops. He wants troops out. He wants America to be out of that war, and he may come to the conclusion that to get out of that war is to win the war. And that's my opinion, that that's the only way we're going to get out of it in the short term. Some people think, well, this could lead to World War III. Well, I got into that a little bit. You got to get into the Bible when you discuss that. Just remember, the United States is not mentioned in the Bible anywhere. Maybe a hint here or there, but it's all that is a hint. You can't bank on it. So it's something that may or may not. A lot of things are not going to happen. I don't think that World War III is going to come out of this. Russia is just not. They have shown in their war with Ukraine that they're not as strong as we thought they were. And so this is going to force them to get their finances back in shape, get the overall economy in shape, and to rebuild their military forces. Because when they come down against Israel, they're coming down as a overwhelming force. Now they may have Chinese and North Korean support in that, but when the Bible talks about it, that's Russia coming down as the primary, and others join in. And so we'll just have to see how all that works out. I don't see that going to World War III. If he was to go to war just with Europe, Russia would be decimated. Yeah, Europe would suffer too, and badly so, but they'd survive. Can't be said. I don't think the same can be said for Russia. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. On Wednesday, I talked about parents' rights. In today's episode, I am dealing with parental rights, and that I'm reading what I had for that day. So I read the article, and what I said is I have never had children, and I haven't. I love them and have taught them. Both my wife and I were very active in children ministries. Moreover, I know that God loves them and has much to say about parents and children. And so basically, this is just a simple thing. I agree that the Constitution protects the authority of parents. No government entity has the authority to interfere with the God-given authority of the parents. They do have the right to protect children from harm. But what they have done has been atrocious. They've literally taken kids out of families for some rather creative reasons. And they get very obstinate. They get very protective of their rights. Basically, I think it's because they know they don't have it. And if we were to allow the freedom to go in and investigate, then their whole called a house built on, there was that game we used to have where you take and build blocks up. And it's just, you knock one out and then the whole thing crumbles down. I don't remember the correct name for that. It was a children's game. But that's their house is like built on bamboo, built on if we do this, if this does not, and if this doesn't happen, if no one finds out. And their house of cards, it's a house of cards, is what it is, and it can collapse. So the government has its appropriate fields of interest, and that's where they need to stay. The raising of children is the responsibility of the family, not the government. And neither is to cross into the other, but especially the government is not supposed to cross into the government. That is a God-given responsibility to the family. On Thursday, we had Bible talk. And here's what I was talking about there. For most Christians with any knowledge of the people who live and work in their community, the answer to the question, are we more biblically illiterate than ever, seems obvious. Of course we are. You may not know that statistical evidence backs up your anecdotal belief. Surveys are helpful in potentially increasing our already firm conviction and providing a deeper understanding of growing societal unbelief. That is precisely the aim of the article that I was reading, or that I'm reading to you right now, which will examine a few more extensive surveys. We won't get into that today. I got into back then. In a sense, the surveys indicate that there is a lessening of biblical literacy, and that will continue unless we start reading and meditating on the Bible on a daily basis. I preach this, I teach this. I don't mean to imply I'm a preacher when I say I preach it. It's just a figure of word speech there. I do teach it, and I'm a mentor, and of course I have this Bible talk. And so I am all in favor of being in the Bible on a daily basis, either reading it or attending church when there is a church service, but in between church services, getting into the Bible yourself and not only just reading it, but meditating. What does it mean? How does it apply to me? What is the context that it is found in? So that's it for today. If you like this channel, I want to encourage you to right about there, there's a little box there, and you click on that, and you will have the opportunity to subscribe to this channel, TR Independent Books. When you do that, you get 2 podcasts. This one right here, Christian News and Views, and the other one is called Becoming a Published Author is Fun, and it is. And that's where I give information out, free information out to those who want to be authors. But if you encourage me, when you sign up, let's put it this way. When you sign up, you encourage me to subscribe, to not only to continue on with these podcasts, so excuse me, but I will do all in my power to create episodes that will inform, encourage, and inspire you. That is my promise to you. I try to keep that every time I have put out there an episode. I want you to be informed, encouraged, and inspired to do whatever you want to do. If it's the one other, as becoming a published author is fun, I want you to become the best author you can be. If it's Christian News and Views, I want you to be the best Christian, the most informed you can be. To have in this case, have the opinion from a Christian point of view, and it's separate from the news itself, so you can tell the difference. Well, that is it for today. I am going to sign off, but I want you to know I will see you in the next episode. You have a great day.